Alright, so I literally spent about 4 hours, almost 4 hours, making this tier list on Twitch, and I was planning on uploading it to YouTube, but I highly doubt you guys want to literally sit through a 4 hour VOD in case you guys want to for some odd reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense this into pretty much just like a very smaller video with thoughts, and basically if you have any questions just throw them in the comment section and I'm more than willing to answer. But this is my current season 17 RTA tier list. Let's go. What's up YouTube? Welcome to another video on the channel. I've been getting a lot of questions about basically who I think is really good in the meta, who I think is really strong, how do I feel about certain monsters. So basically I decided to make a tier list on Twitch. Like I said, it took me almost like 3-4 hours to do, just to go through most of the monsters that I see relatively more in the meta and just go over my thoughts and feelings about the monsters and how strong I feel about them. So I think a lot of people have like various opinions. You're allowed to have different opinions. That is 1000% fine. I think people get up in arms when it comes to like overall opinions about monsters or tier lists. Like they just when they hard disagree with something, they just go in on you, and it's just like that's totally fine. If you feel like a monster is better on the tier list than I do, that's totally fine. I'm just giving my overall thoughts and opinions about certain monsters in the meta, and basically just giving you a better opinion about who I think like is a stronger in most scenarios than other scenarios. So just to explain the tier list, triple S is monsters I feel like you can just drop these monsters and pretty much they can work with almost anything you do. Like they can get you wins as long as they're rune well, and obviously you play with them well. But usually I feel like you can drop these monsters and you can ideally get wins with them no matter what you draft with them. Honestly, I really do feel that way. Double S I feel like are just really good in the meta, period. Like no matter what, they're just good. If they're dropped, they get you wins. They can carry you. They're overall just really strong monsters. If you have them, build them, use them. S is basically also really good monsters. They're a little bit less situational than double S, but these are monsters you will see relatively more in the meta because they're just really good. A plus are monsters that are still really good. I think a lot of people, like especially last night when I was doing this tier list, a lot of people were getting like up in arms about monsters that had an A plus tier. I don't think A plus tier monsters are bad. What I think now is monsters that are in A plus tier, they're situational, or you have to build a comp around them. You can't just drop them and expect to win, because usually monsters in the S tier or even the double S tier or even the triple S tier can counter them pretty well. So that's the main reason why I have them in A plus tier. Like they're good, but you have to ideally build something around them, or you probably have to use them as a 4 or 5 when the draft is pretty safe for them. That's mainly the idea behind A plus. Like you're still really good, and they're almost monsters you can drop anytime. But the problem is, literally, there's so many monsters that can just beat down all these monsters that are in A plus here, and you're ideally fine. So A plus, honestly, is again not bad. You just have to like work a little bit more with them, or they kind of fall off when it gets to like a higher C3 G1 and plus meta, right? And that's pretty much the thought behind A plus. Literally, just like they're not bad. Like don't consider them as like, oh, they're not great, oh, they're terrible. No, they're just monsters that you either have to root a little bit harder, or you have to literally put a comp around them, or they're 4 or 5. They have to be safe for them to drop. And then past that, A tier is like they're good, but you can ideally skip. B tier is like you can use them, but in higher tier meta just don't. And C tier just don't do it. Don't do it at all. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. So I'm gonna get this started with the triple S tier. I think Yanhong and Gianna are currently the 2 best monsters in RTA, bar none. Yanhong is just ridiculous. Her skill 3 is amazing. Her base speed is amazing. Her skill 2 is amazing. Her skill 1 is like probably the one weak point about Yanhong. Like everything about Yanhong is just really, really good. Just a good res lead. Her skill 3 literally basically gives her turn rotation, and we're in a hard turn rotation meta. A lot of people don't really understand like, oh, what's the meta? Meta right now is pretty much turn 1. Like most people go for turn 1, try to beat you down turn 1, and usually turn 1 comps have the highest chance of succeeding. So like the Exodia comp, people say are pretty much like Sierra, Gianna, Chiwu, XX, and that comp usually in most scenarios has a very, very high success rate. That's why you see it more in a higher C3 G1 plus meta, because that comp is ideally just insane. If everything goes well for it, you pretty much don't lose with it. So you have to pretty much like, if you lose, it's basically just the RNG, like triple revenge vert or Molly, or not Molly, but Tetra popping off, or your opponent outspeeds or taking your units. That's all it is. That's the only way to pretty much ideally beat it, in my opinion. Either you see the comp coming too fast and you take their units and outspeed, or you just pretty much RNG and hope to not get your butt blasted. Seriously, how it is. But Yanhong currently, she can fit in pretty much any comp. She's really good. She's overall pretty solid. If you have her, you build her, and basically she can carry you to wins because her skill set is ideally just amazing. So that's the reason why Yanhong, in my opinion, is triple S tier. Gianna is also triple S tier for pretty much obvious reasons. Again, turn 1 meta. She can skill 2 into skill 3, which is pretty strong. Like the fact that she's able to literally get a bomb off, then go into an AoE strip is really, really solid. Solid use of strip, lets a strip stun. Like, it's just overall solid. And on top of that, Oracle skill 1s are just ideally just freaking amazing. Basically, it gives them a 45% attack bar for free. And her skill, she's dark, so it can't glance. She's just strong. Like, everything about Gianna is just relatively strong. She has a decent lead. Like, an attack lead is pretty much not the worst thing. It's not like top 3 in my opinion, but is it top 3? We got speed, resistance, accuracy. Yeah, it's like top 5. It's like probably after accuracy as far as like leads go, the best leads in RTA. But overall, like, everything about Gianna is just solid. Like everything, like nothing's bad about her. Like, if you have Gianna, you have Yanhong, like you most likely have these units built. If not, what is wrong with you? Literally just build these units, and these units will pretty much carry you to a win. When it comes to double S tier, Pater, pretty self-explanatory. Pater is a unit that basically, if people don't know you have him, he's really, really strong, because you pretty much can use him as a 4-pipe pick, and you have to respect it. Same with Tian Lang. Tian Lang is literally the counter meta. If you draft Ragdoll, pretty much anything with turn rotation, which is like literally like most of the monsters that are pretty much drafted in RTA in pretty much like 80 to 90% of your matches, Tian Lang counter it. Like Sierra, Oracles, Bird, Ragdoll, Barbara, Masha, like all these units are literally, they're highly drafted. So Tian Lang is pretty much a good pick in literally 90% of your matches. As the Tian Lang owner, he's dropped in almost 90% of my matches, and he's banned in almost 90% of my matches. So basically, like, Tian Lang is like really strong in the current meta. Chiwu needs a nerf, honestly. His skill 3 is really, really strong. He's the reason why we're currently in this current meta. His skill 3 is really, really strong. The fact that he has a speed lead, his pushback is amazing. His setup for turn 1 is just absolutely phenomenal. And that's the reason why, in my opinion, he kind of needs a toning down a bit. He's just really, really strong. Really, really strong. Needs to be toned down, in my opinion. But he's ideally the reason why we're in this current meta, because of the fact that you draft him, you draft units that basically synergize with him, and you ideally just win. Especially if it gets through. If it gets through in an Exodia comp, you basically lose. Like, there's no way you're probably gonna win. Ganymede doesn't need an explanation. Best babysitter in Summoners War. Reset skills, resets you. He's just really, really strong. It's a good thing they took his glancing away. Also strong lead, 55% accuracy is really, really good. Also, like, overall, he's just solid. It's Ganymede. We don't have to really go too much into detail about that. Nephthys, Ragdoll. Nephthys is just a really good 4-5, and also you can build a lot of teams around her. She's also a little bit higher because of Chiwu, in my opinion. She's arguably top 5, at least top 10 for most people. I really do think like Nephthys is probably like the bottom 5, but I think she's up there. She can be considered top 5 as far as LDs, like on ladder. I still think top 5 currently right now is probably Yanhong, Gianna, Han, Tian Lang, and probably Nephthys. So maybe she is like top 5, and then Pater is like a little bit outside. The only reason I would have put Pater in top 5 in ladder is because, again, like, if people know you have him, you can draft around him. He's just a good surprise pick. That's pretty much all it is. So in like some scenarios he's top 5, but in most scenarios he's like top 10, barely top 5. But I think in his current meta, he's kind of just like, it's hard. It's a little bit harder to draft Pater because of the fact no one's drafting control anymore. They're just drafting like turn 1, beat you down, reset, and all that other stuff. And it's just too strong, and Pater is not really a good draft into that. Like Oki, Changpong is a very, very common sight. Very, very strong 1-2 right now. And Pater does not do well against that because he'll just get reset, pushed back, and he'll never get a turn and just die. So that's the main reason why I kind of just put him in the bag. I kind of put him like a little bit outside the top 5 in my opinion. Ragdoll is just good. A lot of people have been using Ragdoll has pretty much never fall out the meta because again, turn rotation, he gives you more turns. Because you're pretty much always gonna crit, even on a non-crit unit, you're probably gonna crit at some point. So just the fact that Ragdoll can be drafted and basically give you a whole bunch of turns, and you can draft him in pretty much bruiser comps like Molly and stuff like that. Basically, he's just really good. And on top of that, with artifacts now, his skill 2 and skill 1 dish out ridiculously good damage. Additional damage by attack is really good on him. Literally, you just bop him, bop, 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 bop. And because of now he has the damage reflection, it's just all decent. Like everything about Ragdoll is still decent. He's not like top of the meta as he used to be, but literally like he had to be toned down a bit because he's way too freaking strong. Fran, in my opinion, is still the best immunity unit, bar none, because of the fact that everything about her is ideally good. Her weakness only is her defense. Her base defense is relatively low, but it's still like not even the worst thing about her. She has an okay speed lead in 10%, and her skill 3 is good, her skill 2 is good, and her skill 1 is really good. You could probably consider her a triple S when her skill 2 was a stun, especially like if the current, like if she still had the stun, she'd probably be like almost triple S, like barely almost triple S, because she offers too much. So it's a good thing that it's not a pushback. Being with a pushback is still pretty strong. Attack break is really strong because we have so much aggression in this meta. So with her attack break, her healing, and the fact that she can give your units more damage because she has an attack buff, she's just overall amazing. Again, she's free to play, so everybody should have this unit built. Some of your best runes, tanky, speed, HP, literally, this unit should be built in your box no matter what. If you're doing RTA, you have a Fran built because you literally can put her with anything and it can work. She's overall solid. Hathor is still the best elemental monster in Summoners War. Please don't get it twisted. Please do not get it twisted. A lot of people are still saying like, oh, like Hathor is like out of meta. Technically she is, but the only reason why is because the meta has become way more aggressive, because of artifacts. Artifacts has made this meta way more aggressive, and Hathor is not an aggressive unit. But don't get it twisted. If they drop this unit to 4 or 5, this unit will win you games. Her skill 3 is still bar none the best skill 3 in the game. It's still amazing. The turn denial, the control, everything about her skill 3 is just really amazing. Paired with her skill 2, paired with also her attack break on skill 1, everything about Hathor, even the res lead, is just really good. The only, obviously her weakness is her basically her base speed, which is 99, but that doesn't really matter. She's still literally like, if you drop her in most matches, she will get you wins. She will get you wins as long as she doesn't die. So if she lives and is able to do a skill 3, you basically almost won the game, especially if you play it right. She's just really good. Han has made more resurgence because again we have more strippers in the meta, so because of that you probably have something that can work well with Han. Yeah, probably if you're high meta, you probably have a Chiyu, you probably have a Changpong, you probably have any type of stripper that can be set up with Han, and Han can literally 1v4. He's ridiculous. And again, turn rotation meta, he can't glance, he's dark, so he's gonna output like ridiculous damage, and literally like at least 1v4 your team. And he has the potential to do that because his damage scaling is amazing. Speed scaling damage is obviously really good, and again, speed lead meta, so a lot of speed leads are used, so he's gonna get a damage buff regardless. Either way, he's a really strong unit. You get defense break on the skill 3. He gets attack board on skill 3. Everything about Han is just really good now. Han is legit just like, that unit is scary. That unit is very scary in the right setup. And usually most Han owners have this setup for him. Like if you, again, want to watch any person with Han, just watch J-Mac. J-Mac will show you pretty much every time he uses Han. The setup is just amazing. Just Changpong or Chi-Wu and just have him set up and then basically just go to town. Or even like with Okeanos, you can like strip a target, reset him, then Han can just basically like nuke that target and just start working on other people. He's ridiculous. All he needs is ideally just one single target strip, and he starts popping off. He's just amazing. Sierra is also the best Oracle well, not the best Oracle, second best Oracle. You see a lot of Sierra Gianna. It's just stupid. Sierra has the high potential to lap your team because of her skill 2. I mean skill 1, excuse me. She can lap you. She can double bomb you. She can explode. And on top of that, she's just like, her bombs don't really. If her bomb misses, it's not really the end of the world in this current meta because she could probably lap you anyways. And because of the fact that her skill 2 gives her a free turn, she has the potential to basically bomb, detonate, violent proc, which a lot of units can't do, which is like the reason why she's mainly strong. So that literally says, hey, like she gets a bomb, she gets control, or AoE damage or whatever, then she gets her skill 1, then she'll get 45% of attack bar, she'll lap you, she can skill 1 again, she can violent proc, bomb again. Everything, like that's too strong. That's why I think if I wanted to change anything about Sierra, I would literally say, hey, like, can we just, like, if she misses a bomb, she can't get additional turn. That's the only thing I would change about Sierra. Because everything about her is just phenomenal. Everything about her is just too good. But really, they should have it really to where if she misses a bomb, don't get additional turn. That's the only thing I would change about her, and I think that makes her a lot more doable to fight because Sierra, her snowball potential is absolutely amazing, and on top of that, if she's paired with a friend, she gets that attack but bomb, you're basically dead. You get bombed, she'll bomb you, she'll explode it, you're dead. Attack but bombs are just really strong. Sierra overall is just really good. This monster's snowball potential is absolutely amazing, and definitely have a Sierra, which I don't, I wish I did, but if you do have a Sierra, she's probably one of the best monsters in your box, and yeah, she's just overall amazing. Barbara is also a really strong monster in the meta, really strong. Everybody lately is pretty much using her as a swift turn 1 secure, because basically her base speed is higher than most turn 1 monsters like Chiwu, like Gianna. And so basically what Barbara will do with a speed leader, she'll get turn 1, she'll do skill 3, she will boost up your entire team, basically securing your turn 1, and basically you could you can do stuff off of that because now you have the turn 1. So she's basically a turn 1 monster with basically really good damage. If you had a violence set 4, you can also use a turn 2, and she can basically do skill 3 and skill 2, which basically kills any unit in the game, I feel like, because every time my Vanessa is on the field and Barbara does skill 3, violent proc skill 2, she's basically dead. My Vanessa might as well just walk off the field because literally Barbara just kills her. But I've seen less of that now. I've seen more people just having turn 1 Barbas. Like basically when I see a Barbara, I expect it to be swift turn 1. I just highly expect it. But at this point, I just don't even argue with it. If I see a person literally pick Sierra Barb, I expect that Barb to be turn 1, and so I try to draft around that Barb, knowing that she's probably gonna be turn 1. But there's 2 ways you can use it. Like I said, you can use her as a turn 2, just put on a really good violence set with good speed, and then basically just you try to nuke out a unit turn 1, get the skill 3 strip, and hope you get a violent proc for the skill 2. But like I said, usually the way I see her the most at the current state of the meta, most of them are swift. I've seen so many swift Barbaras. I've seen very less violent Barbaras. But even on swift, this unit is still just ridiculous because of the fact that she can attack or absorb. Her base speed's amazing. She has a speed lead, so she's pretty much getting a lot of turns. Everything about Barbara is just really good. But I suggest if you're gonna build her, really 1000% build her on a swift set. She's really good. Swift. If you don't have the swift runes for her, or you're probably using them in other units, violent is totally fine. But I think the best way to utilize her in a higher meta is to put her on a really fast violent set, close to 300 as possible. If it's not 300 on violent, just put her on swift and just shoot for as much speed as possible, like literally past 300, 310, 311, 312, whatever, and just try to get her to get turn 1 and boost your team up. It's overall just really strong. Savannah is also like the second best beat rider by far, literally because of the fact that her skill 3 has the potential. It's just oppressing, paired with Chiwu or just anybody that can literally set her up. I use Savannah all the time. My Chungpong sets up my Savannah with the AoE strip. I'll get to Chungpong in a second. But basically, like, Chungpong is like the secondary Chiwu for me at least, and for a lot of players. Basically, you just do the skill 2 to strip and then set up the Savannah, and basically it's pretty much GG because literally she'll just push you back. She'll give you a defense break. She can nuke out a target, and before you even get a turn, and then it's just overall impressive. I suggested one thing I would change about Savannah. I really think that her speed buff should be after the damage. I don't think it should be before, because she self-buffs her own damage, which is really strong, especially for a late game, because again, attack and speed scaling. So the skill 3 is only doing more damage so long as she's in the match. So what they should really do is honestly just change it towards after, and then in my opinion, she's still double less, but she's not, you know, as damaging as like she's not as damaging as like she should be. Honestly, she can be toned down just a bit to where she's a little bit more fair, but you literally just change it to after the damage. In my opinion, she's fair. Changpong, Popeye's Employee of the Month. I say this all the time. He's my boy. 2 piece and a biscuit. Literally, if Changpong does skill 2 and a skill 3, you might as well bottom left. Just bottom left. You lose. It happens too often where I'm fighting somebody, I do skill 2, do a strip into skill 3, and it's literally just GG in most of my matches. Literally probably 95% of matches where that happens, it's over. You might as well just bottom left. This unit is way too strong. I don't know why they decided it was a good idea to not only give him a defense break on skill 2, but also a more of a pushback on skill 3. I don't get it. I don't get why. They need to change it back from 75% to 50%. Then I think he's okay, and I think he's not as great. Because that literally changes his pushback to like 150% compared to now, which is 225%. So it's just like, it's just amazing. So he literally had, like, with that potential nerf, he more often will push you back to 1 cooldown instead of 2. Like 2 cooldowns happens pretty often with Changpong. So I think with him going back from 75 to 50, he is a little bit more fair. He's still really strong, but he's more fair. I think in his current state, he's just over the top too good. Way too good. His turn 1 is absolutely devastating. The potential of Changpong's skill turn 1 is literally just like, it's too freaking much. They need to change his skill 3 from 75 to 50, and in my opinion, he's more balanced. And the S tier is pretty much just again, more monsters. I don't want to get on too much about too much of the monsters here. I'm gonna try to condense it a bit. I know I got a little bit of I got a little bit of talk about some of the units I put in S tier, Ryu. I think Water Ryu is a little bit more controversial. A lot of people think Water Ryu is double S. I don't think so. I think he's really good though. I think he's really good as a turn 1 against Chiwu. And if you have Water Ryu and you're legit tied to Chiwu, I think if you put Water Ryu in a really fast set, good accuracy and potential some damage, he can really screw up some Chiwu owners. You could put him against a Chiwu, he'll go turn 1, he'll do skill 2, and he'll mess up turn order because he'll push back Chiwu more than pretty much every other monster. So if the monsters require some strip, like say you bet a second strip and then basically just screw the Chiwu over, then basically it's your opponent is now in a very awkward position where it's the strip is now after the monsters that require the strip. So it's kind of they're in this awkward state, oh crap, well my turn 1's kind of ruined now to the turn 2 now. And so I think he's really good in that state. And also Despair Water Ryu is my opinion it's okay, but it can be devastating depending on the draft. But me personally, I think Water Ryu on a Swift set is the best bet. It's really strong, and that's what most players are doing. I've seen Bobble do it. I've seen I think Lucky does it. Most people I've seen with Water Ryu really have a Swift Water Ryu on a really fast Swift set turn 1, and it's just really devastating when it happens, because now it just screws my turn order. Vigors again. Vigor's the best. Second best water unit in my opinion. Second best. He's overall just really good. You can be used in so many different comps. You can just drop him into fire and he's a threat. Vigor's is overall good. Okeanos. I want to give Okeanos double S so bad. I really do. I want to give Okeanos double S so bad, but we all know how Okeanos is. He literally is a monster that he drops the ball a lot. So I kind of I put him in S because Okeanos is the only unit currently that basically it's if he lands everything, he's double S. If he doesn't land everything, he's F tier. If he lands something, he's still kind of S tier. But Okeanos is the one I want to change overall. I think I think Okeanos is probably like one of the top monsters that is like S tier. Like Okeanos first pick is still like a really good thing. I do it all the time if I can. If I get first pick, I'm drafting Oki literally every time. Unless I know the player and they don't have Oki, then I can just draft other things. But on ladder, if I get first pick, I'm picking Oki 1000%. Not to get to every single monster because I think they're going to take way too much time. Again, you can ask me personally or just message me in my Discord or personally message me if you have any thoughts about the monsters. But like I said, S tier, honestly, all these monsters in S tier, in my opinion, you should have them built. I think they're all really good. They all have a little bit more synergy. You can drop them as a 5 pick more often than other monsters. You can pick them in a lot of situations. They're just overall really, really good. And I think you have them. You should work to learn how to use them, what to draft into them. But I think you can draft these monsters more often than others in more scenarios than A+ tier. And that's the reason why I have most monsters in S tier. Like the one I think I got a little bit of flack for was Jameer. I think Jameer now is S tier with the buff. The reason why is because I feel like before he was like A, like a hard A, but I think the potential now of him getting an AoE reset, speed lead, and also really big damage off of skill 1. Basically, like Jameer, I think is like really, really good to have built, and especially in certain comps. Like for me, like, or if I have like again Oki, Chunk Punk, Savannah, if I do my combo, Jameer resets, I can do it again, and it's a speed lead. Like it's also really good. Or let's say you do your combo and one unit is like on the brink of death, you can skip the reset and just bam, do the skill 1 damage, and it does big damage now. So it's overall just a really good finisher. And on top of that, his skill 2 is an attack break, and attack break, in my opinion, is probably like top 3, like like maybe 3 in the top 3 as far as like debuffs in the game. I think attack break is really, really strong because again, this meta is really, really aggressive. So the potential of just like lowering damage is really, really good. Outside of like top 3 is probably glancing. Glancing is actually kind of decent now. And that's the reason why Molly is like S tier right now, because like glancing is just overall just really, really good when it applies and when it works. But sometimes it doesn't work. It's okay. But I think attack break is obviously the way to go if you want to reduce damage. That's which one friend is double S, because she has 3 chances to apply it, and she can apply it to multiple units and also decrease your attack bar. Like friend is amazing. I don't know why that unit's free to play, to be honest. But yeah, and I think a lot of the units in S tier, you can just drop them in like a 4 or 5 in most scenarios, and they can get you wins. Like Rika, you can drop it a 4 or 5, get you wins. Diana, Helena. Some are good first picks, some are good 3-2-3, some are good, really good 4-5s. But you can probably drop these units a little bit in a lot of scenarios, and it can get you wins for sure. I think Odin was also another one. I think Odin is a little bit. He's like between A+ and S tier for me. I think that's the one opinion like people kind of gave me a little bit of back with, but I agree with most people. I don't think he's like a hard S tier, but I don't think he's like an A+ tier. So you could probably put him in A+ tier, you could put him in S tier. That's totally fine. I'm 100% agree with your opinion when it comes to like him being A+ or S. But I think sometimes he's a really good just S monster. I think his kit is overall solid, and again, he just outputs really, really good damage, especially in cleave. I think he's one of the better cleave monsters because of the fact that he can revive himself. He can still buffs, he can buff himself doing that, and overall his kit is just really, really solid. So I think Odin is probably like one of the monsters that you could probably put like in the A+ tier, but some people will probably put him as S tier. So I agree on both ends when it comes to like those monsters as well. A+ tier, like I was telling people with A+, A+ tier, like these monsters are good, and some situations make these monsters S tier, but in more scenarios, I think they're A+ tier, where it's like you can build them, but you either one have to have a comp for them, 2 they're very, very situational, and in that situation they can be really good, or C, you could probably skip on them, but again, it's like if you have the S tier monsters, you're probably not going to use these monsters all too often. But I think in more scenarios, like any monsters in A+ tier, these monsters can definitely be really, really good in specific comps. Like Bastet obviously is for cleave. She's the best for cleave. Outside of cleave, she's not the greatest. She's kind of like a whatever pick. I think the one I got was Arda. I think Arda is a monster that's fallen a lot because of how the meta is. There's a lot of defense breakers, there's a lot of control, there's a lot of it's just overall, like, he gets beat by free to play relatively easily. Like, if you see an Arda, Hiroshin knows. If you guys know Hiroshin, strap to Lucia. Lucia pretty much just destroys Arda and Fermion both ways. But I'm not saying Arda and Fermion are bad. They're actually really good units. They just require basically a comp to be built around it. They can be dropped to the 4 or 5. Like, usually if you pick Arda first, you can pretty much drab to beat the Arda, like, pretty well and pretty easily, because a lot of the units that can beat Arda are pretty accessible, and most people have them at a higher tier. So if you literally have Arda or Fermion and you want to draft around Arda or Fermion, you pick around Arda or Fermion. So you probably have Veligil, you probably have Amelia, you probably have Eleanor, you probably have whatever that can make Arda work a lot better. Tyrannus, whatever. Like, you make a comp to basically accentuate the Arda, or if the Arda is bad, your comp is still relatively strong. I don't think Arda is as good as he used to be, literally because there's so many monsters in this meta that can legit just dumpster all over him or control him relatively well. The best one obviously being Lucia. Vigor's pretty good, Chunk-Punk, Oki, all these monsters, Hathor, they just literally control Arda way too well, and most people at this point have those monsters, like Vigor and Amelia, the easiest ones that everybody most likely has built. And if they see a Lauren, like, all these monsters, literally, if most people have these monsters built, so when they see an Arda, they just drop around that. That's why I think Arda has fallen a bit much in the meta. Again, it's not terrible. It's just now you have to work a little bit harder to make him really good. And then when you have a comp around Arda, he's S. But normally, if you don't have a comp around Arda, he's like A+. You drop him safely into 5 or 4 or 5, where it's like there's not much in the opponent's draft that can ideally beat up Arda all day, or control him, or make Arda just absolutely freaking useless. So same with Fermion. Fermion's the same way. But a lot of these monsters in the A+ tier, literally, they're good. They're really, really good. They're just very situational, or you have to get a comp around them. Like you have to literally make them work a little bit harder than other units. And that's the only reason why. Like, they're, again, amazing units, great units here, the A+ here, but again, like I said, just work a little bit harder to make them usable. A tier, I think a lot of monsters in the A tier are, again, decent, but again, in most situations, you're probably not drafting them too often. It's like a lot of monsters, again, like in the A tier, like, again, they're not terrible, they're not the worst things, but you're probably rarely drafting them, or they're in a very specific comp. Like Draco, obviously, at most scenarios, he's like never used, because again, if you want to beat a unit, he's just front. And Draco's his only use is Jab Cleave. No one jabs him really outside of Jab Cleave, so that's the only reason why I put Draco in A tier. Like, you're probably not drafting him too often, literally at all, once you're a Jab Cleave. Everything else I think is decent, or they just require another monster to be good. Like Fire Ryu, you only see Fire Ryu with Molly. If he's not with Molly, in my opinion, just don't draft him. He gets beat by Vigor pretty easily too. A lot of monsters here, like, if you have better options, you're probably using those better options other than them. So, like, they're okay, they're good, they're decent, but you have the better options, you're probably gonna go for those better options in 90% of matches that you do. Chow, like Platy, if you have Sekhmet, you're probably not using Platy anymore. Sylvia for Rob, it's variant, it's in his Rob comp, that's it. But other than that, you're probably not drafting Sylvia at all. The Slayers, like, they're better bruisers. They're not bad bruisers, but if you have better bruisers, you're probably drafting those. Like, again, like, these monsters are okay. Like, you'll probably put them out in very rare situations, but overall, if you have better choices, you're probably drafting those choices more often, especially in higher meta. B tier, in my opinion, for B tier, these monsters fall off harder after C1. I know everybody is on the Asilian hype train and think that he's great, but I think in my opinion, I said this, if you're drafting Asilian and your opponent is dumb enough to not attack Cillian first, with his very low base stats, then you deserve to win. You deserve to win 1000%. But Ascillion, he's fun. I will agree that Ascillion is really, really fun, and he's fun when he does pop off. And again, your opponent is dumb enough to not attack him. But like, he's fun. He's an okay fun unit. But other than that, I still don't think he's that great. He's just mainly a fun unit you throw out for laughs and giggles and hope to get a win in the highlight, and that's kind of it. Same with Aegir. I remember when Aegir was basically double S tier, but I think even like high F3 past that, he becomes absolutely freaking useless. And it's like you might just not have him built. There's way better options. Like, go away. I know everybody's on the aerial hop train, but aerial basically is like a target for Praha, Juno, and every AoE stripper known to man. So I wouldn't, like, oracles are too strong, and it makes this unit like okay, cool, you can cleanse on my debuffs, but now I'll make him dots or slow or whatever, or just remove them completely. So it's like he's okay, but again, at a certain point you drop him hard. You drop him really, really, really hard. You'll probably get some cheeky matches in where like Ariel is actually really good. But in most scenarios, I wouldn't pick this guy at all, literally at all. Like some of these monsters are basically like you can use them anywhere else but RTA. Like every monster doesn't have to be great for RTA. Like every monster literally does not have to be like the greatest for RTA. And so that's the reason why like B tier and C tier kind of exists. Like C tier is basically don't use these monsters like in RTA. Just avoid it. Period. Like don't even try to use these monsters. They're probably gonna be fun for a bit, but overall just toss them away. Don't even think about using them. And B tier is basically like you could probably use these monsters in specific comps, but there are way better options. I did get flack for Light Dragon. I think Light Dragon is honestly just like, he is cool, but I think if you're cleaving, you're probably using other options. I think he's just a fun pick, and you can get some good wins off of him if the draft goes a certain way. But I think for cleaving, especially in this current artifact meta, most people are just gonna not use him if they have him. Honestly, that's my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. That's totally fine. Again, you're totally fine to have that. But I just think if you're using like Dragon, it's almost like you have a lot of better options under your belt. You can literally get Lucian and Julie and get basically the same results. 100 crit rate Lucian with good artifacts, 100 crit rate Julie. That's very, very common. Pretty much every high level cleaver has their cleave units at 100 crit rate. So that way, more often than none, they basically get the crit and they basically just whittle down units. Or they have other options like a Sharion probably build, they have Odin build, but they have the options built to basically have a very, very strong cleave. So that's why I think like if you can add him and he could do a little bit of work for you, but I think overall like people have been jab cleaving with the same units to high G3 for literally like seasons, like 5, 6, 7 longer seasons. So I think I don't this unit changes everything too much. I think he's nice, but if you have the units for cleave, you're probably just making them better, and you'll probably draft him like every now and then and stuff like that. But he's not terrible. Again, I don't think he's bad. I just think the typical jab cleave units are basically like units you'll see all the time. People know what to do with them, and they probably have them built ideally pretty well. All right, that is the tier list in my opinion. If you have any like conflicting opinions or you want to talk about a unit, just drop it in the comment section. I'm gonna talk about any unit that you guys feel here. Like I said, I know a lot of people have like various opinions about some of the monsters that I tiered here. Like I know especially some in the A+ tier will probably. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'll put this in S tier," or "I think, oh, it gets that gray." Like, you know, that's fine. That's the whole piece about tier list. It's just it's mainly opinionated. I get asked a lot about how I feel about certain monsters in the current meta. So basically, this is just my way of just saying, like, hey, this is how I feel about certain monsters. I'm willing to have discussions about some, like even in some in S tier. Like some people probably move like Rydell Triple S or Hana Triple S. Like I think more controversial is like these two right here. And I think past that, like everybody has a lot of various opinions, and I'm for it. I'm glad you guys have really strong opinions about certain monsters and stuff like that. But like I said this also on stream. If you are C1 or below, this tier list does not really matter too much. Anything being up, you can get C1 with. Literally, I'm not even joking with this. Being up, you can get high level with most monsters being up. Like I have Dusky here in B tier, but there's a person I know that's G1 we're using her type in Dusky, but that's mainly why it's her type. But it's like everybody I think in most matches, like I said, like most people won't have Dusky built at all. Like you won't just like pick Dusky and probably get a win from it. Like you probably have to have something very specific to make this guy work. But overall, like I said, this is overall tier list. I just think this is how I feel about a lot of bosses in the tier list. I think a lot of people can agree. When I did so shame, a lot of people agreed about the double S and triple S tier, and most of the monsters in S tier. I think where it got a little bit controversial was A plus and down, but I think most people agree. Like when it comes to like just monsters here and monsters kind of here, and like I said, like I will say it again, like just because it's A plus is really like these monsters are good. I have to say this again. These bosses are good. You just pick them in very specific scenarios, and then they're good. They're really good. But in more scenarios, you're probably drafting these more, a lot more than these. Like these again require just a workaround, and that's why they're A plus. Like they're almost S tier, and in the right comp they're S tier. But in most scenarios, they're A plus tier. All right, that is all. If you have any questions, comments, anything, leave it in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for watching the video. Like and subscribe if I would appreciate it. Trying to get to 100 subscribers, first milestone on the channel. Trying to get 100 subscribers. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you guys later. Peace.